our church 5 years from now. And there's nothing really magical about 5 years from now other than it's more than we can accomplish in 1 or 2 years and probably less than we could accomplish in a decade. So don't get hung up on the exactness of 5 years from now. Just think what past 1 or 2 years, and certainly things that can be accomplished well within a decade from now within our congregation. So here's how this is going to work. I shared with you at the last meeting that we'd kind of give everybody up to 3 minutes. We've had as many as 90 people show up at these sessions, and if we each took 3 minutes, we'd be here a long time. So what I'm going to ask you to do is really think in terms of a PowerPoint slide with 4 or 5 bullets on a single PowerPoint slide. And to come up one at a time, or you can sit where you're at. If you're more comfortable there, we'll bring one of the wireless microphones to you. Or you can come up here and just share with the group. The group interaction today really will only be about questions. We're not here to debate anything. We're not here to reach consensus on anything today. It's a data dump. It's what's in your head. What is your individual vision? The next session, we'll start working collaborative to really take what we come up with today and break it up into bite-sized tranches that we can hopefully gain consensus around. Today's not about consensus. Today is about each of you individually sharing your image that you see in your crystal ball. It's all about you and your image. If people have questions, that's fine. We can do that. We're not going to debate and we're not going to argue. Now, literally late last week, I guess it was Thursday. Thursday, I had had this idea of repeating an exercise that I had worked with in Atlanta about a decade ago. And it was to ask a graphic artist to come in and capture the brainstorming of a group of 9 executives who were in a strategic planning setting, late in a strategic planning setting, and we actually were doing something very similar to this, not exact to this, but very similar. And I had worked with this graphic artist to visually capture your images, okay? So I had checked with some friends of mine at Martin Wilburn and asked at a very late date if they knew anybody who could come in and undertake this task on very short notice on a Sunday afternoon, and this was Thursday and Friday when I visited with him. And I'd like to introduce you to Mitch Breitweiser, who has agreed to undertake this task. And you all get to watch him work live as he captures your thoughts, your individual thoughts. So don't worry about repeating what someone else said or disagreeing with what someone else said. These are your views. And as more and more thoughts are added onto, so again, if you agree with someone else, you want to say, I agree with so-and-so, or I agree with this particular thought, or I might see it a little bit differently. And what we hope to end up with is, at the end of the day, there'll be some images that might have a little flesh on them. And then there's going to be some other images that'll probably be pretty robust, because the nature of this type of activity is that people's ideas feed off each other. Now, if you all did your homework, you've got your own thoughts. But again, if you agree with other thoughts, feel free to throw those out as well. This session will only be as effective as you all are honest and candid in your various sharing of your ideas that you see in your crystal ball. And we'll all enjoy watching Mitch work and capturing your thoughts. So, here is the challenge. Who wants to go first in sharing your thoughts? And we might as well get a microphone up here pretty quick.
We got a handheld and a wireless.
Bring me the handheld. Come on. Who's going to be brave and go first? You will? Do you want to sit there or do you want to come up here?
Oh, I'll sit here.
Okay.
Let me just say something. We've got, I don't know, 10, 12 people watching online, and if you don't have a mic, they can't hear you.
Years ago, we had a,
Hold on. I can't hear you.
Give me a test.
But there you go.
years ago, we had a youth music group called Genesis Sound. And I think during that time, we had, and I might be wrong, but I believe 50 to 80 youth that participated in Genesis Sound. I think it was a tremendous, what'd you say? Oh, 83. It was a tremendous draw for the church to have this youth group, and they would do performance around town. And one time they even went to Joe's hometown, Elaine, Arkansas. But anyway, I think that would be a neat thing for us to eventually try to get back to. And the second thing that I would like to see would be an improvement on the office and the hallway carpet. And I know that that's being worked on, but I think that's very important because when we have Trinity Presents or River City Men or anybody come in and they see those stains, it's embarrassing. So I think that's very important that we try to get that done.
Okay. Thank you. Just keep passing it around. Thanks for going first. It's always the toughest.
The first on my list, and I think several of us on the Miracle team have talked about this, that we wish that just every Trinity member, if possible, would get engaged in a mission project. And the Miracle team, as it is now, could essentially become kind of like the planning and executive committee, but the Miracle team would essentially be the membership of Trinity. I think the second thing is I think we definitely need an associate pastor, and I think a lot of us were glad to hear that that's going to happen now. But if we can, if we continue to grow, I think we just absolutely need that, and definitely, I think Reverend Betsy's done a tremendous job, but I think that we are too big and have too many ministries going for her to do all of that, and obviously with Simon leaving. But I just think that ought to be an ongoing, that staff position needs to be in the budget and be appointed every year. I think we need a junior high youth minister to help Jay because he does a tremendous job also. But I just feel like that, that program is growing and doing well, but that's an awful lot to put on Jay, thinking about, middle school and junior high folks through the 12th grade, and I think he needs some help. And I also put down a more comprehensive music program for the youth, as in Genesis Sound. A lot of us remember that group and how tremendous they were, and I think that would be really great for our church. And then the last thing I put was, and I don't know if aggressive is the word, but we need to be better about recruiting adults into Sunday school classes as they come into the church, especially new members and Trinity members who maybe don't have a Sunday school class. And, we hear a lot about small groups and, fellowship and things of that nature, and that's wonderful. But there's a lot of us who've been in the New Beginnings class since like 1986 and 87, and that's just been a wonderful class, and that's our small group. And I think we can serve that small group function with Sunday school classes, and I think everybody needs to be plugged into that. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, those of you that were at church this morning, I kind of shared my vision in the in the prayer, but I'll sort of resynthesize that a little bit. I think that it's very important for us to enable our total membership. We've got to take care of business at home, get programs built back so that, we have a strong music program for the children and youth, a strong education program, continue to build that, that we are able to take care of the individuals in our congregation who are ill, who are hurting, and so forth like that. We're making inroads in those areas. But that is just in order to enable our congregation to be able to be involved in outreach. I think the thing that Mark said, we can't really, in my opinion, we can't really be in ministry until we've taken care of our own needs first.
Okay. Up here to Gordon.
Hey guys, can y'all hear me?
It's on.
I had a written out statement, and it was going to be all 3 minutes, and I decided to save you guys about 2 minutes. So I think I'll try to keep it a little bit brief. I just want to share one vision that I would like to have, and it's my personal vision. In 5 years, I would love to see. I'm going to specifically about our worship experience. I would love to see us. That anybody that walks into our sanctuary, when they walk out of our sanctuary at the end of that worship experience, they describe it without any shadow of a doubt as a contemporary experience, contemporary worship experience. We've dabbled with that. We've done some things, and I hear Betsy say, how do you define contemporary? Well, I would challenge our church to define contemporary in a way that anybody who walks out will say it was. It's as simple as that. There will be no doubt that it's contemporary. That's my personal desire. And I think that's also personally what I think will drive us forward, allow us to reach our potential as a church. I look around here, and there's not a lot of young people, even in this group. And our average age is 60-ish. It's continued, the trajectory has been up for years and years and years. I mean, it's been higher, older for years and years. I think maybe this year we're flatliner, or maybe even dipping. Praise the Lord. But I think if we want to see that trajectory go down significantly, we're going to have to make a hard decision and a controversial decision. And I would like to not just see it maybe in here. I would like to see our main focus of worship be a contemporary service. Contemporary experience. Simple as that.
Okay. Thank you.
Don't be scared, I just have too many notes. Going on with Gordon.
Well, actually, there's only about 40 total in the room, so take your time.
I think our average age of church in our church about 15 years ago was in the 40s.
Hold that way up.
I think our average age of our
Area.
church was actually in the 40s or upper 40s at one time. So, yeah, it is gaining. My crystal ball dream is something that I don't think has to take 5 years at all. In my history with the church and the commitment to producing babies, our New Beginnings class at one time, I think, accounted for over 50 children. My commitment to the church has always been to support the youth group, and to all three of my children have been active in it, and it's an interesting scenario now that my youngest is graduating from high school this year, but my commitment is not going to change. Everything that we're going to talk about today is all about resources. No matter what, it's all going to be about resources. Well, there's two different kinds. There's monetary resources, and there's also our own commitment, is the way I look at it. And that's a resource that is either tapped, overly tapped, or untapped. My dream is to have the most dynamic youth group in the city of Little Rock. To me, the future of the church is with the young people in the church We do have many families now that have 2 generations with Trinity, and that's just a statement. I don't need to go any further. Where I'm a little confused is, according to the United Methodist Church with the demographic studies, we have traditional and non-traditional families identified as power elite or flourishing families. Unfortunately, I can't figure out where I belong in that or where my contemporaries, but the current situation with our youth is that we do have an excellent youth pastor. Our leadership with the youth goes back many, many years, and we now see people that were youth members with Jay before are now young adults that are helping and are members of this church. A current need is an associate to work with the younger, middle school, junior high, whatever term you want to use, and then Jay handle them once they're in high school. But the current situation that we have is that not all the children in the church are engaged in the youth group. My dream is to start, just as Dr. Watson was saying, with our families that are in the church today, that the children that they have are engaged with the youth. Our New Beginning Sunday School class, unfortunately, has lost not a few, but many families because of youth going to other churches. To me, I find that unacceptable. And we have been successful at gaining families and gaining youth to ours, but not at the same rate. The commitment that I want to see are that parents ensure that their children are engaged with the Methodist youth, United Methodist Youth. The challenge that I have to our youth and our parents are to ask their children to commit to support their own youth group and go out and find their friends and get them engaged with our youth group. Folks, commitment doesn't cost money. It's just what's in our heart. And if we're successful with this, the resources will take care of itself.
Hi, I'm Rochelle. So in the next 5 years, I also would like to see young families in the church increase, particularly in Sunday school. We've had a lot of really great growth in the past year and a half that I've been at Trinity, so, I'd like to see that continue. And I think a way we can do that is to increase the children that come to our church and the activities that they have. As a parent, the best thing is for my kids to be happy, and if they're not, like you said with the youth, their families might leave. Excuse me. So to do that, I think that we could have an individual leader to lead God's Garden of Angels, which is the 2-year-olds through the kindergartners, so we can really focus on them, as well as have an individual leader for the citizens of the village, which is the 1st through the 5th grade. So we can really cultivate and be that leader for those kids so that they can look up and be like, oh, I'm so excited to go see Mr. Paul today. I'm so excited to learn about this from my teacher who's consistently there, and, I look up to them. Another way we can increase children is by increasing the programs for them. We have the handbell choir. I hope to see a singing choir, and then also going on into the youth with that and just starting them out with the music, which is so important for little kids. They get it in elementary school, they get it in middle school, and so just increasing that in our church is something that they look forward to do. They sing before they go to bed, and, when they can bring that here, that's just a wonderful gift for us and for them to be able to work on. So, expanding the music program will be great. With the worship service, I'd like to see the music expand in there too, particularly with the 9 a.m. service, to have, call it a contemporary service and get, some more music in there that's contemporary. That could help it. And some singers. We have the great chancel choir for our traditional service, and they're wonderful, and I love listening to them. And so to have, maybe contemporary music group leading, I know we had dabbled in that a little bit, that was so inspirational to me to hear, and I would love to just, I get so much out of music and church, and I think a lot of people can benefit from that too, and a way to bring in people that are already in love with, music in a way to do that. So I think just bonding through all of that is a great way to do it. Something else we could do is church fellowship events, where we all can come together and be that community. That's why people stay, is because they, started in 1986 and they're a group together. So if we can bring everybody in, that would be so wonderful. Just have those fellowship events. Maybe we eat, maybe we talk, maybe we have games, and I think that would just be a great way to involve everybody.
Thanks, Nick. As your church treasurer for, I think, 15 years maybe, I would like to see us pay our apportionments. And that's not a 5-year plan. I think that's a 1-year plan. She is getting a lot of pressure. We don't know that. I'm going to tell them. She's getting a lot of pressure from the bishop. And you know what? If we don't pay them, they're going to move her. And then we've got to start from scratch. I see a whole lot of people, we don't have enough money this year to give to the church. Well, that's fine, but they went to Disney World and they went to every Razorback game and blah, blah, blah. And that just drives me crazy. Anyway, I'd like to see us take the pressure off her. The conference knows that we're adding that we're having fundraisers, and the conference is kind of going, well, why can't y'all have a fundraiser to pay your apportionments? When you get your energy bill, I don't think you pay 75% of it, or your water bill. They're going to come cut you off. Anyway, that's my 1-year plan. I'd like to see us get back to paying full apportionment.
Thank you. Lauren.
First, I want to apologize to you for being 76 years old. So I'm going to reverse. I'm going to be 46 from now on, so it won't skew anything. Picking on us old people. I got 3 quick things. The music program is certainly important. I would like to see a drama program that included adults, youth, and even children that would really benefit this church. I know the pitfalls of this next suggestion, but I think we need it at some point, and that's a capital program improvement. We need to take care of the structure of this church now as well as in the future. And the only way we're going to do that is to have to raise the money outside of the budget, which I know is a pitfall. The last thing is that I'd like to hear a little more discussion or maybe program with regard to cremation and the use of our columbarium. Oh, no, I'm not going to use it.
It's okay. So we have 40 plus more years of you. Is that what you're telling us? Mine is probably a little more, I don't know, just vision side of this versus specific things. But I relate this to a story that in a recent conversation I had a chance to talk to the governor, and somebody had asked him publicly, and he confirmed this, that this really is his goal for his legacy. It's not all this tax stuff and anything like that. It's essentially that Arkansas lose the phrase, thank God for Mississippi. That essentially we quit thinking of ourselves as not enough, not creative enough, not good enough. And what I would like to see is really has a lot to do with more outside the church than in it. And that is for any person who walks in our doors or visits with a member of our congregation anywhere in our community, that they feel and know that Trinity is a place to grow their relationship with God and be of service to others. And all these things that we're talking about here are things that make that up. But it's this attitude of the fact that we know we are a place and we want to tell other people that we are a place that they can come and they can grow that relationship with God and be of service to others.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I'd love to piggyback on that because I agree totally. As I've listened to, about 16 bullet points I've made from everyone else, I really cannot say that I disagree with any one of them. I think they're all imperative. I guess what I loved about what you had to say is that it really comes with a shift in paradigm, in that we're not seeking to get people moving from church to here, that it really goes back to reaching the nominally and the non-religious and how that happens. And I really see it as in a couple of points in how we market ourselves as a church. And I'd really love to see us become a leader in the Arkansas Conference of the United Methodist Church, involved in shaping the direction of religion, this whole emerging idea of progressive Christianity. The nominally religious and non-religious, there's a reason they're not here, and we have to change that focus. Becoming a living the questions church, perhaps, that is a real thing. It was started by 2 Methodist pastors in Arizona, livingthequestions.com if you want to research it. But it really takes understanding the Bible's significance to our journey in faith, and that it's best understood through the heart. And it's just this whole mindful change in paradigm on how we look at religion. And then number 2, again, back to marketing ourselves as a facility, that we also become a reconciling ministries church. I think it's imperative that the world know that there is a place to belong no matter what your circumstances are, where you can learn with confidence and without doubt that God does love you. And, you know, I have many bullet points that were mentioned earlier, that Trinity would have multiple worship opportunities. And even though we have 2 very successful worship services, that doesn't mean that's all we offer. And that if they don't work, we can change them. To not be afraid to try new things. And then, of course, extensive program offerings and extensive volunteer structure. But the bottom line is, I really believe, for all of these bullet points that I mentioned from everyone else, that we have to come at it from a larger picture of who is welcome. And I believe if that happens, ultimately Trinity would be bulging at the seams and require expansion, where we utilize every square inch of this property. I have more, but no, maybe it'll come back to me.
I had no idea what Brett was going to say, but I'm going to piggyback on a lot of what he did just say, and Gordon and Mark. And my vision and my prayer is that in probably less than 5 years, 3 to 5 years, that we will be the church that is very relevant and contemporary in the community. And to me, those words kind of are interchangeable sometimes, that we are so connected with our community, that we are serving side by side, and we are the image bearers of God in a sense that they know exactly always that we believe we are loved and that we want to share that love, so that they really are drawn to God through Trinity, and that we will have the resources, that the church-wide will be the miracle team, and that the resources will be there, as everybody says, if we do those things and we are relevant in our community and seeking justice and just everything that there is to do in a community to really be the image bearers of God.
First and foremost, I'd want to add my amen about the apportionment. That's just a problem waiting to get worse, and I think I just wanted to say that was an important thing. I wrote a lot and decided that was too much, but I will say that what I envision Trinity is a church that grows through service, and a church that grows because they put service before growth. And that sounds counterintuitive, but I think it really works that way. People see a genuine service, sees a genuine service, heartful service, that they get attracted to those people, and they'll come to this church over that. And so that we've talked a lot about the needs in the community and the needs in the church, and I think Nick pointed out that this 3 miles area around our church has every need that Little Rock has. So you can find it in Little Rock, you can find it in our little community. And so it's starting somewhere. And perhaps Betsy's sermon about the mentally stressed would be a good place to start. But in the short time I've been here, I have not developed a opinion about worship service or music or the best way to help the youth group. I just haven't been there that long. But I have learned from being here at these meetings and getting a little more active with the church in general that this church has the capacity to help people. This church has the resources and the people, they have the will, and they have people with a lot of talent. And my vision would be that they would take those resources and apply them, like I say, start somewhere, apply them to helping the people, and make that the focus. And I think the growth and the money and whatever else will come after that.
Well, I listened to the presentations and looked at the data, and I'm convinced that we're not undergoing a great big change in this 3 mile area. But I've also been looking with my eyes at what's going on within a 1 mile radius of our church. And our 1 mile radius of the church is changing. We're changing to a higher proportion of minority groups, minority people, more children, they're coming, and probably with the minority groups, but they're getting real close to our church. And I think that with the entries we made with the Brady School Project and the trunk or treat over in the park. It's one of those. I think that we have made some inroads in community involvement. My main point is that I think we need to concentrate our recruitment efforts within that 1 mile radius, although we don't want to forget the others, but the bulk of our recruiting, I think, should be within our 1 mile radius. The people right here. We don't have to go off to Africa to find people to recruit. They're right here. And I think that that's something we must pay attention to. Now, we don't have a lot of resources, and that type of people are probably not going to bring a whole lot more resources into the area. So we're going to have to kind of encourage our people to be more giving. And I'm like Bo, let's pay our conference claims. One of the things that I think that we need to do is to get more involvement of our lay people. We don't have enough money to hire the people that we need to lead some areas. We do have lay people that can help in those, and I think that we need to do a greater job of recruiting people with our own ranks to do some of that. And in order to do that, I propose that we create a profile of each of our members with enough information about them that when we get ready to, when we have a need, we see some people that we can reach out and touch, although they may not volunteer per se. Perhaps with a little encouragement, they would come forward and do some leadership. And so far as our infrastructure is concerned, we do need to shore up our music, leadership in our children's and youth activities, and in our church school. All of those need some help, and
I think that our age situation is, although I'm adding to the numbers every time I have a birthday, I think when I see all the children that come into that nursery, that help is on the way.
I'm Jane. I'm a rather new member here, and I'm really grateful for that. What drew me here was the sign out front, what happens after you die. And I had been wandering in the wilderness for several decades after leaving the church I was raised in. So I thought, well, I'll try that one. Came here, and I've been here every Sunday ever since. What drew me here was, what kept me here was Betsy's messages, because to me and many others, they're very powerful, and I can apply what she says to my everyday life. And the other thing that kept me here was the music. I think David Glaze does an excellent job of blending a lot of different genres of music. And you know, music's always been an important part of my worship, and I always look forward to coming here, both for the message and am I going to hear classical, rock, traditional hymns, spirituals, contemporary Christian. It's just a wonderful blend, and I always like that. And it appeals to lots of different people. I prayed for a vision of some kind that I could share. And here's what I got. It also sort of relates to, well, it does relate to music. I used to go to Acoustic Sounds Cafe at Second Presbyterian Church a long time ago, and I thought, this is really cool in a church. It's a socialization experience, and the music's really good. So, you know, I know we don't have an abundance of funds right now, and I try to think in terms of, well, you could call it cheap or you could call it creative. But what I came up with was maybe once a month a gathering of all ages, kids, teenagers, young adults, and older, wiser adults like myself. And it would be, you know, if you think in terms of spending no money, it would be like sack supper songs. You pick up your own food, you show up, we come in here, the tables maybe are set up already, or we could do that after you get here. And the entertainment would be anything somebody wants to share that's musical. A member of the church or the community, just something to have some entertainment to center the gathering. In terms of radical hospitality, thinking in terms of you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. I also think we need to replace the carpet in the front office. And this time, you know, look for hotel quality carpet that's dark around the edges and has big interchangeable squares down the center. So if one part gets really messed up, you can jerk that square out and replace it without replacing the whole thing. And then my third and last thought was to have a support group for people who are having some difficulties. I helped co-chaired a support group last fall called Surviving the Death of a Spouse. And that went well, but then it appeared to be a little bit too narrow. There were other people asking me, well, I'm divorced. Can I join that group? And we disbanded for the holidays, and we were going to start another kind of group this spring. So I'm thinking, you know, there are lots of social workers and psychiatrists and psychologists and other people in mental health in this church. So I don't think it'd be a big problem to get some people to lead a guided discussion. I'm not talking about a psychotherapy group. I'm talking about a come and share your story. You know, lots of times when people can just speak their pain, that gives great relief. To just have a safe place to come and do that would be a good thing. Something like a group called Living Life. And it would address grief, loss, anger, resentment, fear, any emotion that's troubling somebody. Also, share a format to share joy and change as people grow and change. So that's it. The music group, the support group, and change the carpet.
Just one small little thing. I'd like to see us have people both inside the building and outside in the parking lot welcoming people when they come in the daytime. And, you know, I know how hard it is to get volunteers to do all this stuff, but that is some powerful stuff when somebody new walks in and you look them right in the eye and say, we're sure glad you're here. And so.
Wait a minute. We do that on first service. I don't know about you heathens. We do have people at the door.
That's
Welcome.
Well, I'm Bob, and I'm kind of glad to be in the younger demographic for once. You know, I would have to agree with most of what's been said today. I'd like to see some more contemporary worship, but I think the areas that I would focus most of our efforts on, if we're to reach my vision for 5 years, which is growth in this church, sustainable growth, is I think we need to continue to grow our outreach piece. And I agree with the concept of the Miracle Team as a coordinating body and a board rather than the people that are expected to do everything. And I think that we have to continue to support and growth our children, our youth programs. I think music is certainly important. We got enough play acting around here with certain members of our church. I don't know that we need more drama than we are now. Put Joe Wall and my daughter together and they can do drama. But I think that Betsy has brought a lot to this church in a lot of areas, and I think we need to continue to work on those aspects.
Hi, I'm John. I agree with pretty much everything that's been said, so I really can't add a lot there. I just keep coming back in my mind to growth and how do we really fundamentally do that. And I kept coming back to the greater, rather than just looking at our church, the Methodist Church as a whole. And when I look at that, the fastest growing parts of the church are overseas, and I kept in my mind thinking, why is that? And it has to do with the message. And so for us in America, with all the plenty that we have, I think all these things are important, programs and the facility and all those things. But I think at the root of it all is we can't lose sight of the message of a relationship with God and being biblically focused. And so from my perspective, that's where I'd like us to never lose sight of and make sure at the root of everything we do, and at the end of the day, our service and worship is focused on that relationship and bringing people to God.
You know, in this relationship with God that John just mentioned, we've been here, back on in our 37 years coming up. Now, my thing's going to be mostly concrete, but in the last 2 or 3 years, there are so many new faces here. I know Judy and I talk about it all the time. If you have been here at any length of time, and you look out there at both services and you go, oh my gosh, who is that? Because it's all of these new faces and all these young faces, a lot of them, and little ones coming in, and we've got to make that facility, we've got to provide for them and bring them, because they're here, they're coming for God. And so we've got to make a place for them, and we've got to do some things. I need to do some things. I want everyone to help me do these things. And it starts right here. Years ago, there was a plan, and we have those blueprints here to knock this wall out, and there's 4 classrooms that go right here. And we don't have a lot of places for people right now. And the children, the little angels, after we do our apportionments, after we make our apportionments, the little children of Jesus need a separate place, not a shared space. Nothing wrong with sharing, except I'm the only child and I don't share well. And we need to be down here. I mean, there's plans, and it takes only 4 parking spaces away. That's all it takes. And this could be a great area for the angels to have their new nursery 2, 3, 4, and K. That's one thing that I have down here. Of course, I'm going to talk about a second story, a walk track around here, and those kinds of capital improvements, but just something to make this area grow. And not only this use, but a gymnasium, a real gymnasium. I mean, I'm not an athlete, but a real gymnasium that has exercise abilities here that we could bring groups here to lead those types of classes. I know David has mentioned, and I've mentioned for years, the Academy of Arts. I mean, we have some people that come here and take cello lessons and maybe some violin lessons or some piano lessons, and there's all kinds of arts we could offer right here. I mean, we're so central to so many schools that they could just hop over, or we could go pick them up and bring them over here. And we even have all those computers down there that could have an instructor that could monitor that, and it could be a study hall type situation while they're waiting for a cello lesson or a voice lesson or a piano lesson. I mean, we've got the rudiments of a facility for an Academy of Arts like there. I'm going to skip around because so many of these have been touched. We have no way for any handicapable person to get from that building, the Fawcett building, to our sanctuary. No children in the preschool can come down there, or no adult in this area in the Fawcett building can come down there. There were some, long time ago, plans for an elevator, somewhere over by the purple steps in one of those closeted areas. But at this point, you have to go outside, up, down that scary ramp way over there that the dirt comes out of the planters onto, and then you come back in, and it's not a good situation for anyone that has that need there. As been mentioned, full-time positions for our garden, for the youth, for my youth, the children, the mid-high, the middle school, and the high school. And we're growing to the point that thankfully Rochelle is with me now, and she helps with the garden, and since we added some other programs, helping a great deal there. But we need full-time people in those that can help take care of that. Drama team we talked about. Drama team, we've already mentioned that. Well, I like the idea what Joe said for adults to be involved in that too there. This I've been carrying around. It looks so simple. It's just I'm so old, I don't know how in the world I would make a DVD like that. But this is where you pass out to families, young families that have children, because that's the DVD. This is from another church that I borrowed, and it's got the whole program right on there that they can see what we do here. Because we do so many things. I mean, how many of y'all have ever been to the village? How many of y'all have ever been up to the garden? And there's so many things that go on that could be put on here and then just handed out to our new parents that come in. I'm looking for a crisis plan. Judy and I talked about that. We don't have any real weather crisis plan, which at some point could happen. We see it on the news all the time. We don't have any plan really for someone walking in, which happens too. And there needs to be that plan. Where do you take section A, B, C, and D if a tornado's coming through? If someone should walk in that shouldn't be here, where do we take all these people? You know, what can we do? There's a crisis plan there. I would like to see, some of y'all have mentioned, and I would like to see an outdoor worship service twice a year, maybe on one of those fifth Sundays of a month, where we take it to, I know Betsy and I have talked about, we've got Williams right down here. We could take it to Williams. We could take it over to Brady. We could take it to another site. I've really changed my ministry into all that 1 mile that Olin talks about, or the 3.5 miles around, to inviting those people, bringing those folks here, because that's our growth. This is our area right there. So I'd like to see some alternate worship services that are outside. Okay, we're good. And a living nativity in our parking lot.
And go ahead. Oh, I'm Jay, obviously the youth minister, and I think kind of for me, a couple of things that I'd like to really see is things for people my age and a little bit younger. I have a lot of alumni youth that are on the fringe groups that we don't really, it kills me because I talk to them, I go to lunch with them, we catch up. I've got some that are, good Lord, getting ready to have babies and all kinds of fun stuff. But it's like, what do we invite them to? What do I tell them to come hang out for? And some of them don't like some of them don't like a traditional service. So when they come, they don't really get anything from that. So it's not really for them. When we have an event, when was the last event we had? I know, Paul, whenever I first got here, we had the tailgate thing. We had the music thing that we did, the family fun day thing that we did. Really, other than we did trick or trunk, but I mean, we haven't done anything really outreach for our families that everybody can come to, young to old, which I am a huge proponent of. I love seeing the entire church. I mean, back in the day, they used to have block parties. You can't do that very much anymore. You don't see that anymore, but there's no reason why the church can't put those kinds of things on. And that community that builds whenever we all get to hang out together and see one another and enjoy life together, walking life together. I tend to lean with John. I would love to see us get really, have that personal relationship, that biblically based discipleship, because I really truly feel, when you give people the good news, there's hope there. And this world needs a lot more hope and a lot less cynicism and political junk and what my opinion is and what I want. It needs Christ. And it needs that focus in our lives. And I think if we focus more on those things, the rest of it kind of comes into place. I would love, again, for those younger families to really truly have some of y'all, some of the other members of our church, take them under their wing. And, I'm so proud of Carson and Kathy for taking on that group. I really am. They've got, that one group has a great mentor couple right there to help walk them through. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, because as I look around the room, when we do have an event, when we do have something going on, I see pretty much every single one of these faces here. It's kind of the same thing whenever, I was teaching school. Our principal, our administrator used to hate doing parent-teachers conferences because inevitably he would be there and he'd be telling all the parents what they need to do, and we need to do more studying with our kids, and of course all those parents were there and they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and they're looking at the room going, oh man, I need to do better. And then everybody else that might have tripped and fallen in there and that should have been there and should have been listening are looking around going, well, golly, I wonder who he's talking about. And it's kind of, I see that a lot with our church, and the fact that it's the same faces helping out. And I really wish, I guess when we're talking about a plan or a future, is to do some things, whatever they might be. I don't have all the answers, obviously, but to get some excitement going again around our church, about being excited about being here and about being a part of our programs, being excited about inviting people. When y'all are all talking about our radius, I go back to one of the other meetings. Our radius is where you're at and the people that you're influencing around you. And I know a lot of these people in this room even drive from further than a couple miles out to get here. I think it's getting something to be excited about. I mean, Steve Fauble with the Holy Smoker group. Man, every year that has exponentially grown for us on that weekend, because it's fun. The guys enjoy coming together. They enjoy helping. They're doing something for the youth group. And all he's doing is inviting and getting these guys to come, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And it's wonderful. But how come we need to do that for other things in our church as well, and get people excited to want to come, and give us all something to be excited about inviting people to, whatever that might be, a family fun day or a music program or whatever it might be. I'd just like to see that excitement get built back again.
Okay, so I wanted to go after Jay because I love what he said about how do we get them here, you know? Yeah, the ideas that we have are totally awesome and would increase numbers and increase, outreach is a must in the 3-mile radius that we have. I mean, it's a must. And, as far as my crystal ball, I see an active congregation who is eager, and I see full sign-up sheets for small groups because as hard as it is to take time out of very busy schedules, it is very crucial to develop bonds and break down walls, a little bit at a time. Take a break down here. Develop a bond with someone you don't know. It's difficult, but it's crucial to have a very unified congregation. And that also enhances outreach, and it enhances mission ideas. And you can start thinking more on community scales and on global scales when you connect with your neighbor about whatever issue. And teaching classes, reconciling classes, very important stuff. And counseling classes. Something that I would like to see is kind of a music and art therapy for people who may be going through trouble, because arts are very healing. And, it would someone who could lead a class on that. I love that, we're expanding our music ministries, and that's going to be crucial for involvement. And I personally like traditional services, but it bringing it down to a contemporary level would get more people here. And one of the services down to a contemporary style to reach out to more people. Like music of different styles, ranging from traditional to jazz to, gospel, or, having a bigger umbrella. That's about all I got. Sorry, I rambled.
For me, I had a lot more to say, but to summarize, pretty much, what comes to me now is just really one word, is community. I mean, I think that we need to try to take the church out into the community and bring the community into the church. And by that, like what Paul had mentioned about having an outside service, that's something I had mentioned early on in the planning sessions. I mean, to give an example, like if you notice in the pews, we have a new, 3-part folded, colored, glossy handout where you go to get your envelope to tithe. If we do an outside service, just do a simple black and white flyer, that we could direct mail to the community to invite this 3-mile radius to come to our outside service, to invite the community to come in a neutral setting to join in worship with us. And then I think a lot of it is too in our, bringing the members of the church out in the community to do things together, like what y'all had mentioned about the Holy Smokers. We haven't been here long enough to do that, but I think having events where we go off of the church campus and gather as a group in the community would really increase our exposure. And then the church itself, in the time we've been here, we found everyone nothing but open, but I think that growing the church would be helped a lot just by finding ways where we could focus on making the church community stronger, and for everyone, not just for the people here. But one thing I kind of see in the future is, I heard some people say a monthly get-together. I've almost kind of thought one thing I'd like to have is like a weekly get-together, where everyone in the church could come on a weeknight, and not necessarily food involved, but I know a lot of churches, handle it that way, but just something where everyone can get together and share their challenges that week and, share their strength and experience. And I think that would help a lot. But just for me, that's really sums up my vision, is just stronger community and bringing the church into the community and trying to bring more of the community in.
Okay. Yes, Steve and Gordon, I'm adding to that age too. I had another birthday the other day. It hurts. But Olin, you got me beat still.
I have another one coming up soon.
Oh, okay. Well, hanging around here for about 52 years now, I've had a chance to observe a lot of things going on. This church has always been my heart, and it always will be. Jane, don't separate your support groups. We had a support group when my wife passed away, and I've got to tell you, it was full of divorcees. And it was not my problem after 57 years of knowing my best friend and 50 years of marriage. It needs to be broken up, whatever support groups we have. And there certainly is a need both for those who have lost their partner through death, but also through divorce. We've got a lot of fantastic ideas. And Matthew, I agree with you 100%. Those Wednesday night dinners, we just wore people out trying to serve us. There was just not enough people volunteering to work in the kitchen. So maybe we need to approach it from a different standpoint. But this church needs fellowship. We need to have something for the people that sit on the back row of the church and run out the door before anybody can see them on Sunday morning that they'll be interested in coming to. But out of all these planning sessions, the one thing that really hit me between the eyes, and I probably, Susan, don't have these statistics right, so correct me if I don't, but I believe I want to say that it was over 50% of the people within our radius here that we keep talking about are single parents. They're one-person households. And I think that being an old salesman, that's a market that we need to go after and to help, because I feel very deeply those people need some support and help that only Jesus Christ can give them. You know, if we look back at the history of our church, the founder of our church didn't look around his neighborhood. He went out to the mine workers who weren't allowed to take communion at the Church of England. And he broke all the rules and served them communion and served them. And that's what we need to do, is to break the rules and get out there and go after them. Meriwether Park's a perfect place, as we talked about several years ago, of having worship services. And Matthew, I don't think we can send direct mail out. I think we got to go knock on doors and put door hangers out and do it steadily. It takes people to do it. And now my stewardship guy over here sitting next to me, I'm going to put in a plug for him too. Folks, we got to get into the attitude that whenever we have a stewardship drive, that we commit that we're going to support the programs of this church and the programs that we've got up here on the board that we say we would like to have. And we're not doing it. We are not doing it. We can't do apportionments unless we commit to it. And somehow or another, we've got to get our members with the idea of the fact that this church has to have money, and we got to turn loose of it. And we've got to donate so that we can have the programs that we have, that we want to have, and that we're trying to support. I don't know what the answers are to all that, but that's where I think we need to be. And in order to get, there isn't a thing up here but what Trinity United Methodist Church is capable of doing, and doing well, and getting a lot of people involved in it. But some of it starts out with that community that we're probably not having enough fellowship within the church in order to get people excited about it. Judy, you want next?
Judy.
When you get people to turn loose of some of their money, my crystal ball gazing was all about staff. And I do think we need a middle school person to help Jay. We need that communications person to develop that flyer, to make it attractive so when it's on their door, they'll want to come. Once we get them here for fellowship, we need a kitchen person, a cook, a caterer, whatever you want to call it. We need someone to do that so we don't wear the volunteers out. I would like, personal note, to see heat in the ladies' bathroom that is in this hallway. And I also, the last thing that I had was just to kind of spruce up the building generally with the beautification committee that we've talked about.
I just have something really quick because I agree with everything that has been said here. I think all these programs would be wonderful. We really do need to pay 100% of our apportionments. And I agree with Mike. Somehow, we have to change the culture of every member here that you fill out a card and you commit to something. It's not optional. A lot of churches do this. I don't know if we need to all go to Fellowship Bible and figure out how they get their money, but I don't think it's optional in so many places. And if you're under a hardship, you still fill it out and you put 0 and this is why or whatever. But that's a cultural thing within our Methodist church. We've never been, I think, quite the givers that some of the other Protestants are. So that's what I have to say.
I got one thing to say. We've all had great programs, this and that. There's just 2 people here that's going to make it happen, that young couple. And Rochelle, she's young, but she's got a vested interest. They're the only young people here. We got to work at getting them, not in programs, but in these seats to tell us old farts what to do.
I just have something brief to say. When we first started talking about this crystal ball, you know, what you saw in your crystal ball, the first thing that kind of came to mind, all of these things, of course, up here, but listening to the fact that there are 11 or 13 Methodist churches in this small circumference, my vision in 5 years would to see us working to try to combine with some of these smaller places in order to make these things happen. Then you don't have to give up. I mean, there's going to be, obviously, if we have lots of these programs going on, plenty of places for staff. And this is just in my head. I'm not saying it well, but I just see us looking at these other churches that have common wants and goals, and what could we do with these numbers? You know, we could have a large campus. We could, I mean, it's just endless what we could do if we could work together and not be scattered out. We could provide all of these contemporary services or traditional. We could just do so many things, so many different programs to draw in all of these people that we're talking about. But, you know.
I kind of wanted to wait and hear what everybody else says. Is there anybody else that would like to go? I think this is the most exciting time to be a United Methodist Christian since I've been alive, because our numbers have decreased so much. And when I graduated from seminary, there was no email. There was no texting. There were no, well, actually, cell phones were starting to come into use, but they were really huge. And I thought pastors who used them were really full of themselves. So I didn't have one. When I got here and listening for about and it still happens. But I heard the stories, and people told stories, and they still tell stories, and sometimes they can't get over the stories. They're still in the past. We are still in the past talking about Merle and talking about Bubba and talking about David and talking about Robin. And it's perfectly fine to have those conversations, but at some point we have to talk about the future. If we get stuck talking about where we've been, we'll never get where we're going. And so the most important thing to me for Trinity is to reach people who don't know Jesus Christ. It's not to take care of us, although I agree that community, what Jay is talking about, and others have mentioned already, community is vitally important. I can tell you that from having a great group of people that I work with every week that I missed this week from being at Subiaco, because I get so much support from our staff members. They're my little mini church. My dream is that we need to teach and model extreme generosity, which will lead to what Christian stewardship really means. Y'all, I'll go back farther than John Wesley. I'm going to go to Jesus and Paul, who said, you know, both in their ministries, that we have to have a common purse, put all our resources together, and then use them for the good. And the good is to make disciples. That is our main priority. So Paul didn't just go to Corinth or just go to Rome or just go to Ephesus. Paul went everywhere, and he expected all the churches to support and fund one another, and that's what apportionments are. And that's part of our problem that we need to deal with. If we have the resources, we will fill out our staff, which requires, I think, at least increasing our budget. I'm going to say modestly. Maybe Nick and Bo could, Richard, some others might have some thoughts. Carson, $50K a year kind of move us in the right direction the next 5 years? Yeah. We'll take 100 every year, but 50 would get us, that's a concrete goal. And that would include ordained clergy. We can't afford an ordained clergy besides myself right now. That's just not going to happen. We can augment staff with some great people like Simon and Gail, who's coming on board, but we can't get an ordained person, which we do need. Second, my goal is that we really go back, again, this has already been said, to extreme passion for Jesus Christ to change lives. Only Jesus can change lives, and we are the tool that Jesus uses to do that. I would like to see Jesus help us decrease the congregation's average age to reflect Little Rock's average age, which is 35. And I'd like to see us do that by 10 to 15% annually. And how is that accomplished? By things y'all have already mentioned. With additional staff, with programs. Small groups are very important. We've already talked about that. I know Jay has a wonderful small group right now that you have been working with that doesn't even entail youth. It's about just meeting with some people, families. That's right. Okay, I lost my notes. This is the bad part here. Crud. Hang on. Shoot. I had to write it down, and now I was doing so good until then. What the paper, y'all are teasing me about the paper. They're mocking me. They're mocking me. Tough crowd. Where did it go? I hit something. Okay, here it is. Ha ha, I found it. Okay. Decreasing our age to again reflect our mission field, Little Rock. We are the microcosm of Little Rock in a 3.5-mile radius with staff, programs, and resources directed toward young lifestyle segments in our area that we have been ignoring. I think the contemporary worship is one example, and to reflect the diversity of our mission field, which Olin mentioned, in the fact that we have a diversity of different types of people all in this 3.5-mile radius and in Little Rock. Number 3, assess and plan for building improvements, which others have mentioned. What David said to me in a phrase which I love, tired areas. We need a facelift. We need a facelift. And expansion to accommodate growth and launch a capital campaign to execute that within the next 3 to 5 years. I would love, this is my own personal, and this probably take more than 5 years, but I would like to enclose the courtyard. And I would like for us, yes, he did. Well, we kind of came to, I didn't know you were thinking that, and then you told me how best to do it. I think Robin also had that dream. But to link this side with that side, we have a big hole, like a donut hole. It's kind of like, everything sucks through there. And we don't have community because that is just empty space that's not really used. It's beautiful, but it doesn't really do anything. Paul's the only one I've ever seen to use it physically, to really use it, have the kids do things out there for Easter egg hunt and other kinds of things. So I would love to see us not just put a little atrium out there, but maybe even plans that would go up, because we are out of space. I've already gotten a Sunday school class mad at me for talking about where to put Jonathan, the new hire. I mean, we're getting cramped. It's getting very, very tight. So it's not just a want to, it's a need to, and a have to. And I think at that time we should plan on redoing our kitchen, so that what we have that goes into that courtyard, which will be enclosed, will be a wonderful place for maybe books to be sold, and conversation, and coffee, and tables for further community. Because we'll all be coming from Sunday school, and from the contemporary service that may be in here, and from traditional worship that will be in the sanctuary. 4, to explore a second campus, which I think Susan was hinting at. Opportunities in our 3-mile radius. We have some churches that they're sick. We're hanging in there. But those churches are not going to survive in the new world. I see it coming, and it'd have to be a real radical change in leadership. My thinking is not only that the Methodists are having problems, but if we look catty-cornered, we got 2 churches right across the street from us that are very sick. Average attendance at the Christian church is 129. So we need to think about, we're a little bit boxed in. Are we going to go up? Are we going to find other locations? Are we going to find a location real close, or are we going to help? Are we going to ask for help with one of our brothers and sisters congregations that has space, they have space and they don't have people. We have people and we need space. And finally, address the gap in contemporary worship. We can blend all day long, and I think that what we do is excellent, but we have to address that issue. It's just not going to go away. However we decide to define it as a congregation, it's here to stay. And again, we have to be very creative with that. Those are my dreams.
All right, not everyone spoke. Anyone else? I'm not going to force everyone to, but see, I told Betsy if I agreed to facilitate this, that I was going to facilitate. Do what? Well, yes, all of the above, but I will tell you as a facilitator of strategic planning processes, we can't do all of the above. This is wonderful stuff, and I didn't hear anything that I disagreed with, but we're not funding what we're doing today. So the hard realities are going to be, we can put a strategic plan together, and it can include all of this stuff. But the next session, 1 month from now, we're going to categorize these thoughts, and we're going to have to prioritize. And here's the hard reality of all of it. We can prioritize all of it. We won't even accomplish the very first thing on the list if we don't do better than what we're doing today. We didn't underwrite our budget this year through pledges as well as we did last year. That kind of surprised me, and I think strategically we need to be thinking, why was that? And fix that, whatever it was, whatever the reason was. We've got some tough things to address. So the next session, we did great on time. I was hoping when I saw the numbers today that everybody would have the opportunity to speak as much as they wanted to, and I think that everyone did. Any ideas left off of the list? Anybody got something that they didn't hear that they want to throw out? Because our job now is going to be to kind of, again, collect all this into bite-sized pieces.
Well, based on what you just said, I personally know that Mike was involved with this years ago in terms of, we know who's pledging, so logically we should know who's not. Can we address that question and try to find out why from them and not try to guess it?
Sure. No question about that. So I have been a member of multiple denominations over the years because I had a mother who went searching after my father passed away. So I've been Lutheran, Presbyterian, Baptist, Free Will Baptist. I could go on and on. There are some churches who, they quite frankly don't even let you sign up as a member without signing a commitment card. Now, that you could argue that's pretty radical. Well, yeah. He wants you to use the microphone so people can hear.
Yeah, that's absolutely a part of the Methodist Church in Kansas City, Leawood. Yeah, yes. They take it very seriously. And, you know, even though that's kind of scary, the gentleman, which I can't remember his name, you know, even said when somebody's not on pace to meet their committed contribution, they're meeting with them to find out why. You know, yeah, so, you know, even though that's kind of all scary, it seems to be working.
Yeah, in my Baptist background, if you were behind, you would get a phone call from someone on the finance committee who was asking when you planned on catching up. I mean, it was just that simple. Hold on, got to use this.
I just had a question on that too. When you want everybody to sign up for a card, are you saying, you know, like those who have it, you're going to search them out and maybe, you know, see why, as in like they can't commit to anything, so you're going to make them commit to something, or just make them commit to something even if it's nothing because they're maybe on hardship or something?
It's just a commitment.
Okay, that was just a question.
There was one of the Methodist churches here in Little Rock that did that. The minister went around to the congregation and he wanted them to help with something. He would point blank tell them what he wanted them to do.
Oh, yeah.
Can I just say also real quick, I thought really interesting Rochelle in the room just asked that question, no offense. But because I think the other thing is I grew up in many bigger churches, non-denominational churches. We never had to do the direct as much as The scripture that goes over and over in my mind is people perish without for lack of vision. And if you don't know, then, and the vision hasn't been laid out well and explained well, like Rochelle, that she's having to ask that question, then how are we going to expect them to know? And one of the things in the church that I worked at last, one of the things that Tim was very good about, he used to explain to us all the time. We needed the money. Here's what the plan. Here's what the vision was, and here's what we need to do, and we need your help to do it. Make no mistake about that. However, if you don't give, that's for you. God can't bless you if you don't give. It's a principle. It's a kingdom principle. As you sow, you're going to reap. And he would explain those things, and he would give that vision. And so, of course, everybody wanted to give, because you want God's blessings in your life, which will come multiple ways. But I think that in my mindset, whenever Rochelle said that, it just red flags. I mean, if we don't know, how are we expecting, especially our younger people, those of us who haven't grown up in the Methodist Church all of our lives? I've gotten a lot through osmosis being in here, but
Okay, so we are at the end of our time, and the next session, I've got a lot of work, and those that are helping me have a lot of work to try to cluster some of these ideas into things that we then can attempt to reach consensus on prioritization, and that's going to be a real critical thing. Yes?
I'm sorry, Nick, but I'm just feeling really led to say one thing.
Okay, let's get a microphone because the folks...
I have been in a lot of Methodist churches, and one of the things that I have seen in churches that were declining or churches that were heading uphill and just didn't know quite how to get there was prayer services. I think that that's something we can do without any expense, and I think it's something that God would really like to see us doing as a commitment that we can do without costing any money, but it takes commitment.
Okay, thank you. One more. Bob?
I would just add one more word. I think, again, all of these things are good, but if we don't market ourselves as Trinity, and Trinity being involved with these things, where are people going to go? So I think just having a banner out on the street, or a banner when we have a event like Trick or Trunk isn't marketing. So we got to do something to market ourselves better as a place, a people, a mission, and believers.
All right. Well, thank you all. You participated wonderfully. Usually I have to kind of beg people to share some ideas, and that was certainly not the case today. So we'll see you next month. Probably be in this area again. It's a little more intimate than spread out all over the sanctuary. And we'll probably have to have some visual aids to help us get through some of that prioritization. So, oh, and Mitch, thanks a lot. He'll continue embellishing some of this, and we'll capture it and share it with everyone. All right, thank you. Oh, let's do closing prayer.
Let us pray. God, really the vision belongs to you, and we are the tools, and we ask that you be with us, that this team of people and those who have been coming to all the other sessions and all of our circle of friends and acquaintances at Trinity, that we continue to share the news, the good news of Jesus Christ, that it will take root, and that we will see a way forward, a future that you have carved out for us. So help us to be prayerful, to discern, and to love. We ask it in the name of Christ. Amen.
Being with us today for our strategic planning session. And this will be online in a day or so feel free to take a look at it. We think a lot of in-depth thoughts were made verbally today, and I think I'm going to watch it again just to absorb it all. But it's obvious that there's a lot of love and a lot of people care for this church, and we want to make it better. We want to serve the Lord. So help us. Thanks.